We're going to look now, as I said, at the supply chain and with another case study, and look at some applications. Mark Wattleton, Vice President of Corporate Development at First Genesis, is going to present. First Genesis is a blockchain company. Mark's an experienced leader. It's head of cross-functional supply chain organizations, most recently focusing his talents on the digital supply chain space. He's held roles as the Chief Operating Officer of a 3PL company, Director of Supply Chain at a global chemicals company, and an investment banking Vice President focused on the downstream chemical industry. He's also past President of ISM Houston and now serves as their Director of Strategy and Innovation. So, Mark, you're there and ready to go? All right, Mark, unmute yourself, which is a common catchphrase in this world of Zoom. There you go.
Right, we'll try it that way. Can you hear me?
We can.
All right. Thank you very much, Simon, for that generous introduction. Again, my name is Mark Wattleton. I am the Vice President of Corporate Development at First Genesis. We are a blockchain company located here in Sugar Land, Texas. And I look forward to speaking with you all about the topic today, transforming supply chain with blockchain. So today, the objectives are, I want you to learn a little bit about First Genesis and our blockchain as a service. We'll level set again on blockchain. Hopefully you all have tuned in and done your own research, but I'll do a brief synopsis again. And then I'll talk about the role of blockchain in the supply chain ecosystem and how that is aiding the digital transformation that's happening broadly. And then I'll run you through a case study. So First Genesis has been in business for 20 plus years. And we've been focused on IT transformation services and solutions since then, focusing in healthcare as well as oil and gas. About 36 months ago, we made a hard pivot to the blockchain space, creating our own solution. So at a high level, there are really kind of four categories that we put ourselves in from a differentiator standpoint. One, we're able to store up to a single file size of 5 terabytes and actually hold a block size or several block size up to 1 exabyte. We're able to do 2 million transactions per second, and that's at a sub-millisecond speed, and we have our own proprietary proof of path consensus mechanism that helps us get there. Some additional capabilities that we have are the fact that we can ingest almost any data format, structured, unstructured, multiple sources of data. Like I said, we can hold up to 5 terabytes. What's very also unique about our platform is the fact that we're not only indexable, we have role-based access controls, meaning not only beyond the encryption key mechanisms, we have an RBAC, which is called role-based access, meaning if you want to be on a particular block, you just can't get there. And then you can run a whole host of data analytical solutions on top of our platform and do it seamlessly. So part of that uniqueness is the fact that we marry cloud services with AI, machine learning capabilities, and blockchain all into one single solution. So let's level set here. You might have heard of blockchain in the same sentence as Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. These are not the same thing. Blockchain is the underlying technology developed to prevent the double spend problem in the digital currency space, a role that a range of financial institutions do with government issued currency. In the rest of this presentation, I will seek to share with you why oil and gas companies are moving in this direction. So what's in a block? it has data, it has the hash value of the previous block, it has its own hash value. That data is stored in a block that acts like a notary. It is time-stamped. The hash is used to secure the block, its digital fingerprint, making it tamper-proof. So more than anything, organizations want CIA of their data. So confidentiality, integrity, and availability. Legacy storage solutions still struggle with CIA of data and need middleware and other software in order to manage it. That also increases the support expense. So blockchain solves that in one single offering because it is distributed, peer-to-peer, verifiable, programmable, and tamper-proof. So broadly, this is what digital transformation is about. You know, there was a day, I know we probably have some millennials on the phone or on the call. There was a day that your desk looked like the one that is on the left-hand side. But now, you know, you couldn't take that desk into Starbucks as is. Now look on the right-hand side, that's what digital transformation looks like from a personal standpoint. That is also happening at the enterprise and the commercial space as well. Why is this? Well, and why blockchain? Well, it gives you a single source of the truth. You know, 451 Research has done a lot of work in this area, and they have discovered that, hey, first of all, organizations are doing a lot more data driving insights from data. They're also spending a lot more time trying to clean up that data so that they can make those insights. That's wasted time, wasted effort. It's inefficient for a whole host of reasons. And so that's why many organizations are turning to blockchain. What blockchain also does is that it allows you to share that single source of the truth with a whole range of stakeholders all at the same time. Building upon that, it opens up and will open up new ways of automating business processes among partners without setting up costly, centralized IT infrastructure. And again, all participants have access to the same source of the truth. Broadly, it is agreed that blockchain technology will be foundational. It will be as ubiquitous as the internet is today. No one asks how the internet works, it just works. But it is also going to be a core piece of an ensemble of technologies that are going to be built around a digital supply chain execution. So here's some thoughts around what that ensemble looks like. You're going to have big data analytics. That already exists, but again, if you go back to the 451 research, the fact that a lot of organizations have all this data, a lot of it is unusable because it's not in a format where you can trust it. So that's where blockchain is going to help that avenue. You've got AR, VR. You've heard of companies now switching to that technology now that their staffs and workforce are under more restricted travel. You've got AI, deep learning, robotics. That is also being accelerated, especially in this COVID world, where companies are looking to still keep up the level of productivity, yet still leverage technology in the delivery of that productivity. You've got cybersecurity. Well, look, that's one of the core features around blockchain is that it is immutable and nearly unhackable, excuse me. Geospatial location. Look, there's a whole host of technologies that are out there that are, you know, look, we know if you're an Amazon customer, you can find out where your package is. if you do any food service delivery, whether it's Favor, Uber Eats, DoorDash, you know where that vehicle is on its route to either go pick up your food or drop it off to you. That has already migrated to the commercial space. Certainly companies are using technologies developed by Esri, which is one of the largest players out there. Another very unique company that's in this space is called What3Words. I encourage you to go out there and Google them and look up your address. They've got a very unique offering. They have put essentially a grid across the globe and given it 3 words. And that 3 words dials you down to basically a 9 square meter plot that you know exists. And so if you're a delivery driver, you're able to figure out exactly where the front door is and not just the building and or the parking lot. They're discovering that that technology, the way they're deploying it, is saving anywhere from 30 to a half hour in an entire day of folks being able to deliver packages or shipments, and that is increasing throughput. You certainly got the communications connectivity. We're in this transition of a 4G to a 5G world. You're also getting the transition between IPv4 and IP, which stands for Internet Protocol version 4, Internet Protocol version 6. What version 6 is going to do is allow trillions upon trillions of addresses, which means as these IoT sensors proliferate, they'll all be able to have a unique address without the risk of running out of a unique address. Also, companies are also setting up their private 4G networks and or 5G networks as that particular technology scales out. Of course, you've got IoT sensors. So, now you're enabling, say a valve to stroke itself, open or close, and then tell not only beyond the control room, but maybe back to corporate offices where it is and how it's behaving. That is also going to, and this is where it also couples with the help of Internet Protocol version 6, is that I'm going to put forward the fact that you're going to have an individual device cloud. So you're going to want to know, hey, if that device is within its operating within its operating parameters, and then I can now trust the data that is coming out of it. And then another technology is certainly drones. Drone shipments are coming. People, the oil and gas companies are using it to survey land areas, review piping that's already out in the field and operating, et cetera. There's a whole host of opportunities that are currently being used and also on the cusp of being deployed. So, look, the power of blockchain is the fact that it seamlessly merges or can merge a digital asset with a physical asset that is ultimately a financial asset. There are only 3 functions that touch end to end with any organization or ecosystem. 1, supply chain. 2, information technology. And 3 is cash flow, financing. And as you can see by this diagram, supply chain is headed to the right. Demand is set by the customer and headed to the left. And those are the material flows, material, cash flow, and information flow that happens within the organization. Blockchain is able to collapse all of those together in one single solution. And that is really one of the key powers of it. Now, I chose steel pipe to review from a use case standpoint because 1, it's used in every segment within oil and gas. Upstream, it may be called tubing, casing, line pipe, drill pipe, flow lines. Midstream might be called transmission pipe, distribution pipe, or service pipe. And then certainly downstream, you might have process pipe or feeder pipe. It's all steel. Here is a high-level summary of a steel pipe supply chain. There are a whole host of other processes that are upstream of this, as well as inside each one of these boxes, but I wanted to take it from a high level. So here you go, raw materials traceability. You're able to put this on a blockchain. You know, you might select some data such as who is the manufacturer? What are the production steps? What is the location? Which plant did it come from? What is the metallurgy? What are the source of the raw materials? The data sheet that accompanies it, as well as the QA and QC, and get that all put on a blockchain. Now that block will then follow the next phase of it. What I'm going to categorize is the operations related data. You know, look, again, upstream, hey, what's the history of the upstream suppliers that built this? Did they send me the right amount of stuff? Call it the unit count. What was the manufacturing technology used? What were the standards that were used, and did they meet their quality standard before they left the previous supplier or the assembler? You know, how does that impact my inventory? How do I track it from a serialization standpoint or from a lot standpoint? You know, if I happen to be in a situation, and it's not necessarily in the case of steel pipe, but, you know, I could want to know some of the conditions that are around that might be dealing with it. I might, depending on the application, I might want to lower my price of acquisition by using some level of recycled material. Was that used? Then, of course, you've got the sourcing piece of it, you know, which is incorporating the front-end engineering design. What are the requirements, definition? All of that information can reside on a blockchain and follow the pipe all the way through. Then you have sort of the fellow travelers of logistics and warehousing and distribution. Hey, what am I looking at from a supply chain security standpoint? Theft, diversion, sabotage, all of that can be driven from devices that tap into either the truck, the airplanes, the rail, or the boats, Wi-Fi, end up on a progeny block somewhere and encoded into a blockchain. Hey, I've got IoT sensors that can tell me temperature, humidity, pressure, orientation. You know, if that happens to be a component that I have to be careful about. Also, geofencing. Give me ETA of either when it left the site or on its way. And that's irrespective of the mode of travel. And then, of course, you get assistance with inventory management, real-time inventory status. You know, what does it look like? You can break it out into categories: raw materials, work in progress, finished goods, and then, of course, your MRO. Because at some point, once you deploy this in the field, you might have to be on a PM cycle of some sort. So those are just some examples there. Then what I categorize as the deployment and the delivery stage of things. So this is when you're in construction and, you know, so for example, you know, this is an example, we call it a gas pipeline. One of the challenges in that is that they have a whole host of contractors that might be working on that pipeline. Look, how do you know that they're certified to do the work that they're supposed to do? How do you drive that into supplier performance? Does that supplier have the right HSE qualifications or status? You know, human trafficking, I'm based out of Houston, Texas. That's a huge deal here in Houston, as well as other parts of the world. How do you validate that? Does the contractor even have this certification? If you look down there, you see there's an underwater welder. You better believe that he's going to have to be not only PADI certified, but he's going to have a whole host of certifications to do his work. There was an instance in New York a few years back where there was a building that exploded because of a gas leak. And then they discovered that, hey, the person that actually did the weld way out in the street, because what happened was he did a weld on a gas pipeline near the street. For whatever reason, that gas ended up migrating into the basement of the building. It accumulated there until it ignited. Well, that person's certification to do that work expired the day before. So a blockchain, having all this information on the blockchain, it certainly allows you to do root cause analysis much sooner. And again, harken back to that 451 research, make those data-driven insights much, much quicker. So with that, I will pass it back to Simon for questions. And here is my contact information in the event that you want to reach out to me directly. Simon?
Great, Mark. Thanks very much. Great presentation. First question we have, and actually multifaceted question. What blockchain platform, I guess it's what blockchain platform are you using? What's the cost of transaction? Is your use case live, and who are the participants?
Okay, what blockchain platform am I using? Well, we developed our own.
Yep.
Is it live? Yes, it is live. We're working on a couple of active cases in the healthcare space, also in the power and utility space as well. As we all know, oil and gas has gone through a little bit of turmoil here of late, but we do see light at the end of that tunnel here shortly. What were the other two questions?
The cost of transaction.
Well, our solution is based on a license fee and with a minimal cost of transaction, but certainly Ethereum has, they've got their gas prices, as well as, depending on if you choose IBM Hyperledger, they've got their pricing as well. So,
and one of your roles, past president of ISM Houston, the members of ISM Houston, including some of the major oil and gas companies and independents, is blockchain a topic of conversation, priority for ISM members? Are you seeing there's an increased interest in supply chain professionals in blockchain?
Well, broadly, the short answer is yes, but it really depends on where the individual is and where they, where most of their work lies. And it's more use case driven than anything. So, when you're talking about interfacing on the supplier development and maintenance piece of it, or management piece of it, that's ideal for blockchain because you've got a multi-party situation. So let's pick on the EPC market, engineering, procurement, and construction market. Look, you can put your drawings, whether that's 2D or 3D, on a blockchain, and then all of the cascading suppliers have access to the most updated and related information that they need to build to. However, if you're just doing two-party, maybe just passing files or Excel files or whatever it might be, emails back and forth, certainly suffices. It just kind of depends on where you are in the choice. If you're a warehousing and shipping manager, it might not necessarily be the case. You just might be the input to the blockchain versus a consumer of the data.
And actually, I mean, that's a question just came in. I mean, a fundamental question. Why do you need a blockchain? Can't a more connected ERP system suffice?
Look, one of the strengths of the blockchain is the fact that if I have to hook into your ERP system, then there's a whole host of probably security protocols that your IT professionals or group are going to shoot down. Because if you're not an employee or within the ecosystem of that company, they're not going to want you to have access to their ERP system. One of the things that we deal with is on the cybersecurity end of things, we have what they call a zero trusted network. So what that means is the way a lot of platforms are built now, you've got one, call it door, meaning that door is, if you get inside that door, you've got access to everything. If you're outside the door, then you're on the other side of the firewall. What's coming is what they call a zero trust network, which means, hey, look, for example, you all recall the Target breach. Well, that's somebody sitting in the parking lot, getting on the HVAC Wi-Fi, and then just pivoting their way to whatever sensitive data that they wanted to. Well, a zero trust network is saying, hey, look, I don't care who you are, unless you are appropriate to have access, meaning from a role standpoint, and I've got a list of the roles or the services that should have access to, you're not getting in. And that's inside the firewall.
Yep. Okay. What particular performance measures for supply chain and logistics with blockchain? So, any success stories? How are you measuring success?
Usually the success is the efficiency of the operation, meaning are you getting data, single source of truth data much faster? Are you being able to pivot off that data and leverage that data from an analysis standpoint much faster? Because you now have the single source of the truth. Are you able to not go out and have to hire a bunch of folks to do reconciliation work, whether that you bring them in internally, they're full-time employees, or you go out and hire contractors or consultants to do that. So that is the performance improvement of the organization is how you typically would measure that.
Okay. What are your thoughts on data privacy for the companies on the network?
Well, that's difficult because I was asked this by a large utilities provider. Hey, basically the question was, look, how do I know that that contractor that has plugged into my HVAC system to do either update, maintenance, whatever, how do I know that they're supposed to be there? Well, that's a very key piece of it that blockchain can solve for. And it's important that, as we move into this new world, blockchain will be a key linchpin in that space.
Yeah. Okay. All right, Mark. I think we're going to leave it there. Appreciate your time. Appreciate your insight. Your presentation will be made available on the platform, and we encourage people to reach out to Mark. He's got a great insight into both blockchain and as past president of ISM Houston, really what supply chain logistics and procurement professionals are looking for and what their challenges are. So, Mark, appreciate it.
Thank you for the opportunity, Simon.
No problem. Our next presentation